First featured poet today is Clare Banks. Clare is a poet who lives here in Baltimore. She earned her MFA in creative writing at the University of Maryland, where she studied with poets Liz Arnold, Michael Collier, and others. Her work was a favorite of her professor, poet Stanley Plumley, who would often sing his praises of Clare's work to me when Clare wasn't around, not to embarrass her. But when I'd run into him at like AWP and various events, he would speak very highly of her work. Her poems appeared in many national publications. She was awarded a Maryland Arts Council Award in poetry. She's also an editor of Smartish Pace, and she teaches middle school at St. Francis here in Baltimore. I first read Clare's work in 1999. This was before, and then we published her work in Smartish Pace, and this was before she became one of the editors. That's because we have a strict rule of not publishing the work of anybody associated with the magazine. So she was one of the few that's now working on the magazine that happened to be in the magazine prior to that. At the time, we were a new magazine, and Clare's work was some of the best we received in the first couple of years of the magazine. Her work is intelligent, never wordy, always saying just enough. As you'll hear, it's heartfelt, emotional, and sincere. That's not to say that it's all factual, but that the voice is sincere. Clare's extensive reading and understanding of contemporary poetry, much of that working on Smartish Pace, comes through in her own work in very thoughtful ways. Please welcome Clare Banks.
Can you hear me? Yeah? Okay. I've never done a reading sitting down before, so this is very weird and new. So I want to say thank you to everybody for coming out, and to the Ivy and to David for reading with me today. I'm going to read from a new series that I'm working on about the time that I lived on top of a mountain in Tennessee for a few years as a kid. And yeah. So I'm not going to say a whole lot about the poems. I think they're pretty self-explanatory, but I may say a few things here and there. All right, the first one is called Tennessee. From the car window, fields rose slowly into hills, slopes building to the blue, hazy Cumberlands, where the road curved through blown-out rock. The dog beside me, we spotted waterfalls spilling from rough cliff walls and forests along hollows past the highway. Wood smoke hung in the upper canopy. We're moving here, I thought, to a dead end, a mountaintop hours from Louisville. Our house will be made of cast-off logs, I imagined, our floors the packed dirt of pioneers. My sister cried in the back seat. All her friends, they would forget her, while the cat and her kittens whined from inside a damp cardboard box. New house. Our new house sat in the crook of two roads, an acre of yard and pine woods that looked east on a small farm. A brick one-story, its back to a swath of trees and the bypass. I could hear semis hurtle past. I coaxed the dog out of the car onto the gravel drive. Reminded him how far we'd come, how safe we were in these crackling July grasses. No silent father here with his hands clasped around his icy bourbon glass. Holding the dog's leash, I showed him the green light on the porch floor. Sun coming through the fiberglass roof. We ate outside in a tent of summer leaves, where I felt the fizz of Coke exploding in my throat. The town I lived in had a college, and it was an Episcopal school, so there was like a church and all these beautiful stone buildings. So this is sort of about that. The sacred. Between a chapel and its church hall, a small lawn and stone stage sat unused and silent. From there, I watched the college students run through the cloisters to class, but they seemed to miss the shaded space, hidden and otherworldly, moss on stone, damp where the lawn met the walls. It was a room that opened roofless to the sky and lured us, my friends from school. We pretended plays, half worried, half hoping someone would see, would recognize in our running and shouts, our props made from stones and branches, something they'd lost in their days spent in classes, their nights clutching solo cups on frat house porches, where the woods were always at hand, the mountain's edges much nearer in the dark. So I have 4 older sisters, and they're going to be coming up a lot in the rest of these. This one's called Mac Lab, Late Shift. The summer after 5th grade, my sister Amanda worked nights at the computer lab, helping the summer school students with their papers. I wanted to come with her, but waited at home watching Star Trek reruns, wondering at the planets made from fabric and paint, Spocks and toning, Kirks clipped in FedEx. Outside, there were lightning bugs, the thrum of 18-wheelers on the bypass, and stars thick as clouds. I'd stand with the dog, testing the waters of the driveway, and maybe take enough steps to reach the road and turn back. We couldn't walk all the way in the dark, could we? Past the pine woods and my neighbor's beached RV, the trucks in the machine yard, and then, as if by some invisible demarcation, the stone fraternity houses, boys and girls in polos and topsiders on porches with their whiskey and their sour stink of beer. The computer lab was about half a mile from our house, and the night we walked the farthest, the distance seemed to expand, like each breath pushed it farther from us. I concentrated on the dog's collar clinking against his tags, his questioning whines, the heat radiating off the pavement into the soles of my sneakers. I knew there would be no congratulations, but hoped Amanda would let us wait with her and her 40 screens for midnight, when the clocks tipped us closer to daylight, and we'd walk through the darkness toward home. I watched for the hood of stars and imagined each step moved us closer to the end of summer, when my mother would return from South Carolina. I could see the shapes of oak and hickory leaves drying on the ground, pale yarrow, the height of my hands, rising up at the roadside. So my sisters told me a lot of things that were not true, and the next 2 have some of those stories in them. This was called Lake Swim. We walked through sand pocked with cigarette butts to the beach, where thin waves lapped and grasshoppers in the reeds shocked the air with their constant static. My sisters lay on their towels gleaming in baby oil, smoking and drinking cokes. The lake floor felt slick. Algae and mud squeezed between my toes, drawing clouds to the surface, where the crack of dragonflies landed and lurched away. I swam along the humming surface with the dog to the cool waters of the lake's middle. The smell of dry earth, dry grasses blowing in from the fields beyond. I could see my legs treading water among the marsh grasses, the fish. My sisters called out, "Don't go too far, watch out for the horse." A body I pictured lying dead below me, the brown mane spread against the lake bottom, each strand playing in the murky green light of the current. Drunk murderers. My sister pointed at the liquor store. "Drop your bike, follow the highway to the rock bridge, past the drunk murderers who sit on tree stumps carving sticks, plotting." Liar, you're a lying bitch. I tested the word in my mouth while she laughed, lit a cigarette. "You're too young to cuss correctly. Stick to dumb, stupid, idiot." I'd heard what trash lurked in the coves and hollows, what they did in those shacks with their steaming stills. "We'll meet you there later," she promised, but she was a dirty liar. She spoke to me to terrify, to draw a line between us, the one who knew things, the one who had nothing. I wanted her clothes, her hair, her friends who smoked in the graveyard, who drove to the mountains lookouts, to know what they knew. I wanted to leave the margins, the silent stone town, for the decaying mouth of the outskirts. I waited until later and hiked into the massing trees, past the bridge in its deep scully. My skin chilled, my scalp tight. The dim light led nowhere. There was no one there. Another thing about this place is that whenever there was a storm, pretty much the lights would go out. So this is called Lights Out Box. In summer storms, you don't wait or wonder. You get the lights out box Amanda made, spread the matches, candles, flashlight against the low coffee table, and sit ready for the sure flicker and death of the lights to come. You watch the maples branches lumber from sky to ground in the wind and the rain, breaking in bursts over the neighbor's corn. You strike a match, set a lit candle steady on the table, and stand at the window, flashlight clutched like a weapon. There is no leaving this moment, no escape to morning when the sun looks on at what the night has done. You can only stand and watch the storm spin out. And these are the last two. Lying to my father. I'm home alone when my father calls to say my grandfather has had a heart attack and died. It's dark out, so I can't see beyond my reflection in the kitchen window. Fluorescent light above me ticking. I can hear his voice, sober, quietly holding mine to his ear. I'm scared he will make the 5-hour trek, come barreling up the mountain in his truck, that he will appear in our driveway, messing with the temperature dials on his dash. Linda Ronstadt and the tape deck, that he will make us go back. His silent apartment, nights punctuated by the whines of the neighbor's cat on the fire escape. Where's your mother, he asks instead, and I fall back into place on the linoleum, the hot rush of panic dissipating in my chest and arms. Working, I lie. I must hide her from him. He hangs in that moment between breakdowns, driving inexorably forward, a light that whitens and turns dark. And this last one, it's called Reservoir. And this is a little bit later. I'm 19, waiting in my car in the pitch dark, eyes closed, listening for his cut ignition, steel doors slamming, his shoes on the gravel, and the weight of him on the seat next to me, as if we'd done this before, as if I'd learned him as a sequence. I remember coming here with Zanny, our wet hair in clumps, towels wrapping our shoulders after swimming. We found roadside raspberries and stopped to pick them from bees and thorns, our hands stained pink. And once with Girl Scouts, deer tracks stretching the beach, the damp sand turned up by hooves to the woods. I could see their brown flanks against the understory, their white tails. Tonight, in this place where I listened for his nearness, the huff of his breath, I want to leave one for another. By dawn, a mist hangs above the water, sunlight beginning in the clouds. He hasn't come. I drive away through trees and trees. That's it. Thanks.